Good evening, Gills fans. Welcome back to Gills in the Blood TV. It is Thursday, which means match preview day as I look ahead to Saturday's fixture, which is a home game against Steve Evans' former club, Rotherham United, managed by Mr. Evans' former fitness coach when he was in charge of the Millers, and that is Paul Warne, a very good gaffer at this level, who's had decent amount of success with them. But first things first, we'll have a look at Thursday's edition of the Medway Messenger before having a look in depth at our game this coming Saturday. Quiet week again, really. But obviously the big thing, like I've already mentioned, is it's another home game after Peterborough 2 weeks ago, where Steve Evans pits his wits against one of his former clubs. Talks very well of his time at the Millers. Had really good success up there. If you remember, he finished runners up to Gills in 2012-13, and then back-to-back promotions the following season while Gills struggled in League One. Rotherham went up again into the Championship via the playoffs. And I believe that's the game now where that famous Steve Evans gif originated from, with him legging it up the touchline at Wembley. But yeah, another game that I'm really looking forward to. Another game that myself and Boz will be covering on Saturday for Match Day Live. No Stocky this week, unfortunately. But yeah, definitely a game I think that we can get something from. And Steve Evans talks very highly of Rotherham chairman Tony Stewart and says that it was actually a chat with Tony that confirmed to Steve that he should take the Gillingham job, even though he'd pretty much made his mind up beforehand. He said his 2 pennies worth and that he could see me doing very well. I was on the verge of saying yes to Gillingham anyway, but that was someone who was a friend of mine and has always given me the best and most impartial advice that he could. Also says that Mr. Stewart compared the 2 clubs, Rotherham and Gillingham. He said the fan base is similar and they just want their team to compete. And he said that he saw Gillingham as a very similar hard-working club with hard-working people, and they want value for money. I think that sums up pretty much fans across the country, doesn't it? I mean, we know that what we are, but it doesn't mean that we can't dream big and want to progress. But yeah, all in all, looking forward to the weekend's fixture. In terms of what's in the Medway Messenger this week, Jack Bonham says there is loads more to come. He speaks about the fact that he's sometimes super critical of himself and really has a go at himself, so to speak, when he makes a mistake. But when he does something well, he's not overly happy about it. So he needs to find the balance. But it's good to know that he's saying there is more to come from him, because let's be honest, he was absolutely immaculate last Saturday, as we saw off Accrington 1-0, and he played a huge part in us certainly keeping a clean sheet and obviously claiming all 3 points. And if he's going to get better and better, then happy days. Let's hope come Saturday we don't have to see him in action as much as he was last weekend, and because that means that we're defending properly and not giving up many chances. But yeah, I'll put a tweet out in the week with the third of the league season gone. Best player, worst player, best signing, worst signing, most improved, most underwhelming and most surprising. And Mr. Bonham come up a lot in best player and best signing category so far. Like I said last week, I think he was one at the time that I wasn't 100% convinced with early on, but he's got better and better with games, and at the moment he looks like a really astute piece of business, which is great to see. Another individual in the paper who has recently hit a landmark is this man coming up on your screen. Mark Byrne, our Irish centre midfielder, recently reached 150 club appearances, which is an excellent achievement for Byrne. Made up for him, because I don't think you can have too many Mark Byrne type characters in a football squad. He does exactly as he says on the tin. He's a proper centre midfielder, box to box, gets about, he's got a good engine, he's decent with it. He's added more goals to his game over time since arriving back in 2016. Was player of the year and cleaned up pretty much at the 2017-18 season, didn't he? If you remember, scored that wonderful goal at home to Bristol Rovers, December 2017. One of my favourite moments doing the channel. An absolutely ridiculous hit, first time on the run, volley into the top corner. Scored another good goal at Shrewsbury that season, I believe, as well, or it might have been the season after. Curled one into the top corner to earn us a point. Generally doesn't do tap-ins. And yeah, here's to many, many more performances and he's a top bloke to boot as well. Bought us all a drink at the Player of the Year do back in May, and really nice fella, really grounded, really humble, knows what his limitations are, knows what his strengths are, and he uses them strengths to the best of his ability. And he's a very, very good League One midfielder. Made the step up seamlessly from League Two when he arrived from Newport under Justin Edinburgh back in the summer of 2016, like I say. And yeah, like I say, it's a massive achievement, 150 club appearances, and I think if he stays fit and doesn't leave, he could go on and make another 100, 150 appearances on top of that. He's still only 30, so you'd imagine he's got another 2 or 3 years in him at least. And if he keeps doing what he's doing at the moment, he'll stay in the side, because he's been back to his very best this season. I know he missed the first couple of games, couldn't get in the side, but as soon as he's got himself back in, aside from suspension last week, he's been spot on. And yeah, just a really, really, really nice bloke, real honest pro, and a really good footballer. So congratulations to Byrne on a superb achievement. But as I say, the biggest thing this coming Saturday is our League One fixture against this lot. Rotherham United are in town, managed by Paul Warne, as we've already mentioned, who was fitness coach when Steve Evans was in charge. Yeah, they sit 3 points above us at the moment, so massive incentive. If we can win the game, we go level on points with them, and this is another side that was touted to be challenging in and around the playoffs, I think, at the beginning of the season. I'd say their squad's probably not as good as it was the last time they were at this level when they got promoted. They've lost a few players since then, but they're still really competitive in League One. Had a massive result last week when they saw off previously unbeaten Ipswich, who'd only lost one game, because Accrington had beaten them at the weekend previously, and then Rotherham went to Portman Road in the week and put in a really good showing and won 2-0, and by all accounts it could have been more. But a little bit of inconsistency is probably holding them back at the moment, and then they lost at home to Wycombe last weekend, a Wycombe side that we beat 2-0 a month or so back. So looking at the form, last 6 in the league, Gills have got 8 points from 18. Seems I say that all the time, which is 2 wins, 2 draws and 2 defeats. The Millers, very up and down, 3 wins and 3 defeats, so 9 points. There's only a point in it. In terms of home and away, we have 10 points from the last 6 games, which is 3 wins, a draw and 2 defeats. Surprise, surprise, the Millers, 3 wins, a draw and 2 defeats, so they had 10 points from 18 on the road. So it makes for what should be a pretty even contest between 2 mid-table sides at the moment that are hoping to push into the top half and perhaps a bit further. In terms of players that stand out for them, Freddie Ladapo loves a goal against the Gills. He's done it on many occasions for plenty of different football clubs. I did raise my eyebrows when I saw he went for $500,000 in the summer. 3 in 9 so far in League One. Is that a good enough return on $500,000? Only time will tell, I suppose, and we can only really judge at the end of the season. But their top scorer in the league is Matt Crooks, who's got 4 in 13 from midfield. As I say, the squad I don't think is as good as it was a couple of years ago when they got promoted to the Championship. They've still got plenty of decent enough players, and you know what you get from Paul Warne sides. They'll be hard working without the ball, and they'll have a bit of quality when they do have it. So we'll have to be at the top of our game to combat any threats that they'll try and pose. And if we want to get anything out of the game, we'll have to be somewhere near our best. In terms of team news, still no Matty Willock, I'd imagine. I think he's back in training now on the grass, which is good. So hopefully he'll be in contention next week, but I think Saturday might come too soon. Barry Fuller has trained and is available for selection. But he wouldn't make my team at the moment, and I think, excuse me, I'd only make one change from last Saturday's game. I'd go Jack Bonham in goal, back 4 of Jack Tucker, Max Amar, Connor Ogilvie and Thomas O'Connor. My midfield forward would be Alfie Jones, Mark Byrne, Stuart O'Keefe and Regan Charles Cook, who I think deserves to stay in. Really good performance last week, especially second half, and ultimately won us the game. And my front 2 this week would be Brandon Hanlon and Mick Allen Jolly. I know he's unpredictable, Mikel, but I think there's something about him that, although he can be frustrating at times, he can probably win a game on his own in an instant. We saw that against Wycombe. Hadn't been in the game for an hour and then scored 2 good goals. So I'd partner him with Brandon Hanlon this week, which means Mikel Mandron drops to the bench. And in terms of the all-important score prediction, I am going to remain positive. As I say, I think the Millers are a little bit inconsistent at the moment. They might win 1 or 2, but then they'll lose a couple. I think their longest unbeaten run this season is only 3 games, which is 1 less than ours, which is 4. And on that basis, I'm going to go for a narrow Gillingham win. So I'm going to say Gills 2, Rotherham 1. My goal scorers will be Mick Allen Jolly and Brandon Hanlon. Right, before I finish, I know I spoke last week on Monday, on the Monday review, regarding Gills fan Ollie Monk and his partner, who recently suffered the tragedy of losing 2 stillborn babies, baby twins, and I believe they are coming down to the game on Saturday. And I think a lot of Gills fans have been tweeting about it, but there is going to be a minute's applause in the 13th minute at the ground on Saturday as way of a tribute. I think 13th of October was the day, unfortunately, that they lost their little ones. So if you can spread the word amongst Gills fans and Rotherham fans as well, that 13th minute's applause for Ollie and all of his family who are travelling down from the north to be in attendance. I know they've set up a Just Giving page, and I've just had a look, and it's over £600 already, I believe. So that's absolutely staggering from people. So wonderful support network around them, and I think again it shows the powerful tool that football can be. So looking forward to hopefully seeing Ollie at the weekend, even if it is briefly. Been going through it recently, and hopefully we'll find a little bit of comfort in what's been going on over the last few days. Right, that's enough from me this evening. As always, thanks for watching and thanks for listening. You know where we are on all 4 social media platforms. We will see you Saturday for Matchday Live. And until next time, up the Gills.